vision from God. And he said, I was frightened and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O Son of Man, your wisdom belongs to the end of time.
In the mid-19th century, a Baptist preacher, William Miller, traveled the country preaching that the second coming of Christ was close at hand. Tens of thousands believed he was right.
The pivotal text that William Miller centered his apocalyptic lectures on was Daniel 8:14. Unto 2,300 days, and then shall the sanctuary be cleansed.
Cleansed!
And he thought the sanctuary was the earth, and it would be cleansed by the fires of the second coming.
Miller's followers determined the cleansing would come on a single date, October 22nd, 1844. One of those who came to hear Miller speak was a young woman, Ellen White.
And at that time, Ellen White, my great-grandmother, and the whole family went to hear him. They were all impressed. They were impressed by his sincerity, his knowledge of the Bible, his understanding of prophecy, and his ability to explain things clearly and succinctly.
Described by the Holy Scriptures. Cleansing by fire.
As October 22nd approached, true believers prepared to meet their God. Farmers abandoned their crops and livestock. Shop owners closed their businesses. Others simply threw away their money.
Rock of ages, cleft for me. Let me hide myself in thee. Let the war
And that night people gathered and waited to be united with their God.
from thy wounded side which flowed.
But the next morning, Ellen White and the others awoke to a world unchanged.
She believed with her whole heart that Jesus was coming. She writes in her own writings, I went home and I cried all night.
Quiet Hour and Revelation Films present 2,000 years ago, on the Greek island of Patmos, a message was given to the Apostle John. It was a message that would mesmerize the mind of mankind for millennia. Deep in the pages of this book is a final warning to all inhabitants of Earth, given by 3 angels. It is a cry to turn away from false doctrine and return to the true God of creation. It tells of a last-day people who keep the commandments of God and hold fast in their faith in Christ. It tells of how this people of scriptural truth will spread this final warning to the 4 corners of the earth. And then, the end will come. The 3 angels' messages. Since the fall of man in the Garden of Eden, there has been a promise from God the Creator to rescue mankind from the curse of death. As promised, approximately 4,000 years later, calling himself Jesus, God left the splendor of heaven, clothed himself in humanity, and came to earth to fulfill the promise he had made. As he walked among his creation, he healed the sick, fed the poor, he gave hope to the hopeless, and even raised the dead. He demonstrated on a small scale what he would do on a global scale during his second appearing. Jesus offered his friendship to everyone he encountered.
בבית אביך באמנות, אם היה אחרת הייתי אומר לכם.
On his first visit to earth, Jesus came as a meek and lowly man to be sacrificed, thus making a way for man to be saved from the curse of death.
כל שלטון עלי אדמות ניתן לי.
When he appears the second time, he will do so with his heavenly supremacy and majesty, accompanied by all his holy angels. The three angels' messages.
So where are we now in the biblical story? The signs of the times indicate that we're in the midst of some of the events that will ultimately lead to the return of Christ. These many prophetic signs were given long ago to demonstrate that the Bible is trustworthy and that its author knows all things, even the distant future. Though each of these prophetic signs share equal value and should be carefully studied, in this segment we will focus on one specific prophecy. In examining this prophecy, we will not only discover its amazing accuracy, but we will also learn how it will soon affect each person on this planet. As touched on earlier in this program, this prophecy, found in Revelation chapter 13, predicts that a powerful, worldwide religious and political power will exercise absolute control over all people by controlling global finances. The descriptive words religious and political are used here because this power will be both. And as a religious and political power, it will force its religious preference on all people and use its political and military power to enforce it. A non-biblical religion will align itself with the state and force everyone to adhere to its prescribed belief system or lose the privilege to buy and sell. This religious system's alignment with a military-strong government that also controls the banking system will provide it with the power it needs to control everyone.
He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand and on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark.
Why can this only apply to today? Because the technology to do this has not existed until now. You may be wondering why a power such as this would want to control the world population. The truth is, dictatorial powers have been the norm in history much more than liberal powers. As an example, history shows that the Roman Catholic Church, which is a religious and political power, controlled Europe by the sword for more than 1,000 years. If a person did not agree with the church, he or she was labeled as a heretic, tried as a criminal, and in many cases brutally tortured and killed. In fact, Protestant Christianity and North America were established to escape the oppression of that system. It clearly took place in the past, and the Bible predicts it will occur again. The freedoms that many of us have experienced in recent times is a very rare privilege when looking back across world history. Even in our own century, world domination was attempted by Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini, and Japanese Prime Minister Tojo, and they each came very close to reaching their goals. According to the Bible, a one-world dictatorship will eventually succeed. But how will this be accomplished? This global power will do this by controlling the finances of all people, regardless of their location or social status. All people will be forced to adhere to the demands of this dictatorship or lose financial privileges. And the requirement will be that everyone follow its prescribed religion instead of the Bible. Being loyal to this dictatorial government will earn you the privilege to buy and sell. On controlling the finances, one theory describes the many smaller banks being bought out by the larger banks, eventually giving one bank the monopoly. Many believe that the Federal Reserve Bank already possesses and exercises that kind of power. Since we have lost our self-sufficiency and come to need money for survival, especially in the last 100 years, most of us are already at the mercy of the banking system. Every aspect of our lives revolves around money. From food to fuel, transportation to housing, money drives every facet of the modern world. Banks are clearly in a powerful position to call the shots, even now. The only thing left is a great catastrophe to push the world population into a state of desperation. Natural disasters, a worldwide stock market crash, global war, an energy shortage, famines, pandemics, or a combination of these crises could cause a global form of martial law that would further empower this dictatorial government. No matter how it comes to pass, current world developments make it easy to see that the fulfillment of this 2,000-year-old prophecy is now inevitable. Soon, this global dictatorship, more powerful than any other in all of history, will exclusively grant or seize the privilege of buying and selling through the global central banking system that already exists. Just decades ago, this would have seemed unlikely and technologically impossible. Today, it is only a matter of time before it reaches full fruition. Just imagine something of this magnitude happening without warning. The privilege of knowing the future in advance is a very special blessing from the Creator. It is His fatherly way of showing that He is watching out for us and that He truly cares. Keep your eyes open and follow the developments of this prophecy very carefully.
Now, when these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near.
When this occurs, the long-awaited return of Jesus will soon follow. For those who have waited and are anticipating His return, the fulfillment of this prophecy should be viewed as a wonderful sign that God is in control. When this sign comes to pass, God will once again prove that as Alpha and Omega, He truly knows the beginning from the end and the end from the beginning of all things, and that He can be trusted with full confidence.
I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him I will trust.
Either on the unsuspecting inhabitants below or on the crew of the plane itself.
The whole inside of the airplane just lit up as if someone had set off a flashbulb. Just the whole city completely covered in smoke with this very tall mushroom cloud rising from it.
確認してできますでしょうか。大きな津波が、何波にも分けて迫っております。
Highway 90.
Six-year-old Emily Parker, one of the victims in the Connecticut school shootings.